Hello, everybody, and welcome to a new year of Sports Talk Philadelphia. That's right, we are back here at LaSalle TV, and if I can say so myself, I think we're better than ever. My name is Tyler Harper. I am your new host this year, and I don't know about you guys, but I am very excited to talk some Philly sports. And with me to talk some Philly sports is a great panel. We've got Steve Graham, Tommy McIntyre, and Jordan Green, three returning vets coming back to kick the first show off right. And speaking of kicking things off right, well, we've got to dive right into Eagles football. All getting off to a 1-0 start against the Jacksonville Jaguars. If we could take a look at the full screen graphic, the Eagles were able to handle the Jacksonville Jaguars, build up a full head of steam. But we got to talk about that first half first, because when you spot well, first we had this full screen graphic. As you can see, Chad Henne, 24 for 43, 266 yards, 2 touchdowns. Alan Hearns, 4 catches, 110 yards, 2 touchdowns. Jacksonville, 17 points went unanswered in the first half. Then you saw in the second half, Jeremy Maclin was able to catch fire, 4 catches, 97 yards, and a touchdown. Guys, I don't know about you, but when I got notification from people that Jacksonville was up 17-0 in the first quarter, I don't know about you guys, but I was a little worried. How worried were you guys?
Yeah, I mean, I was in Hershey Park waiting in line to get on a roller coaster, so, you know, Hershey Park is no longer fun hearing this news. Nick Foles was just not good. Offense had no rhythm. Defense was just letting all these points on the board. It ruined the day, but it was good that they came back.
Yeah, it was shocking, to say the least. I mean, 10.5. We were giving Jacksonville 10.5 points. Las Vegas was. Really thought this was going to be an easy win. I thought Nick Foles was going to. I'm really still expecting Nick Foles to have a good year, to come back from last year and have a solid year. But it was shocking. He wasn't good. Offensive line injuries. And it just didn't seem like we had anything going.
I was petrified, to be honest. 17-0 at the half. You know, you thought it would be the other way around going into it. And who would have thought Alex Hearns' first 2 catches would have been for a touchdown? First 2 catches would have been for 2 touchdowns. I don't think anyone really knew of him in college, and just all sorts of twists and turns. But I guess a little drama is good. You know, otherwise we would have been bored. We kind of all chalked this up as a victory. But the box score was still kind of what we expected. You know, they had the second half surge. But I saw a lot of positives. I saw a lot of negatives as well, obviously. You know, that's kind of what we focused on. But after a few days of digesting it, I think it just comes down to the quarterback play. But I saw, you know, some good things from the special teams. That might be the best game we're going to see them play all season. You know, the defense did what they had to do, and ultimately the offense got together. You know, 34 unanswered. That didn't come as a surprise.
Well, you know, you mentioned focusing on the negatives, and I mean, come on, guys, we're in Philadelphia, so I guess that's kind of our stereotype / forte, but kind of focusing, unfortunately, on that theme for a little bit. Why do you think Jacksonville had the edge early? Do you think it was just still trying to work the kinks out, or do you think maybe the Eagles were overlooking Jacksonville like pretty much every fan was, because every fan had this as a Week 1 victory?
Well, definitely working the kinks out. I think there's always nerves first game. There's some young players on the team. There's also some veterans, and I would consider Nick Foles a veteran right now. That's why it was such a shock with all these turnovers. But the good thing to take out of this is the adjustments they made, not from just Nick Foles, but the support system that Kelly has built for this team.
I think they didn't come out prepared. You would think they would. It's Week 1. I mean, it's the first game of the season. You go through the preseason. You're ready to go. This is Week 1, home opener, and you come out and you lay an egg. You literally lay an egg the first half, 17-0. You don't have anything going. Nick Foles is missing receivers left and right. I think also part of it is that Maclin and Riley Cooper were hurt for a lot of the preseason, so I think timing is definitely a factor in why Nick Foles was missing, because they were wide open receivers and he was just missing them.
Yeah, I think Jacksonville was just fired up. They were, you know, the biggest underdog this past Sunday, and Gus Bradley, that team, they have a lot of pride. They compete. You know, their front sevens, you know, still they got some talent going along there. Gus Bradley's a very good coach. In fact, we all know the Gus bus was here. He was almost our coach for a moment. So, I think they were just fired up. I think the Eagles overlooked them a little bit. It was almost like they were running their preseason offense, you know. So it didn't surprise me. You always get in trouble when you start, you know, overlooking opponents. And I mean, it's Week 1. You know, last season doesn't matter. You know, remember a couple of years ago, the 49ers were like, oh, that's the 49ers because they sucked for years. And next thing you know, they're actually like a solid team, and we lose to them that year. So, I mean, it's a new year. You can't just look at who the team's been over the last few years.
Yeah, a lot of fans were fired up at halftime, and although I'm sure they were not as fired up as Chip Kelly was at halftime, no one knows exactly what he said. We probably never will know exactly what he said. We could probably get some good ideas going in our heads. But when he was asked about it in his post-game press conference, he said, "Oh no, we were fine. No chairs were thrown." I don't know about you guys, but I kind of find that hard to believe. If you go down 17-0 to Jacksonville on opening day, when everybody is predicting that as a Week 1 win, if I'm head coach, I'm throwing something. So we think he had to do some sort of speech to rile the troops, right?
Yeah, I'd say most certainly it wasn't those wire the coach up so the fans can hear what he's saying. Definitely some.
No NFL wire there.
No, definitely some bleeping out moments. Chair thrown here or there. Maybe he did the USA Olympic hockey team water toss or something. But whatever he said, it worked. Thank God.
Yeah, I don't know what he had to do. I mean, I think he would blame himself most. I mean, he probably blamed himself too because, I mean, you would think that whole preseason, whole week of preparation for the Jacksonville Jaguars, and you just come out and you don't look efficient. You don't look like you have it. You're giving up points left and right. You're missing playing wide receivers, and it's disappointing on players, and it's obviously disappointing on coaches. So he probably had a really hard, angry speech at the team or something like that to rile the troops and get them back out there.
I mean, we saw Sanchez warming up. I don't think that was a coincidence. I think Foles was, a turnover away from being benched. And, I'm definitely not a Sanchez fan. But after that pick in the end zone and, Foles just kind of being on his toes the whole game, not looking comfortable. Not that you would, bench him for the next game of the rest of the season, but he almost looked kind of shot for that game. But, he got it together. I think that run by Sproles kind of jolted the whole team, but I have no question. They were ready to pull the plug on Foles, and rightfully so. It's just a little hard to I guess come down on Foles because he's such a relaxed, nonchalant guy. He's not really someone you like to be mean to. You see Shady and Chip go out all the time. I remember Deshaun and the coaches would go out all the time. But Foles, he's kind of like a nice guy. So I kind of wonder how that conversation went. I'm not sure he necessarily cursed him out per se.
So I just want to have you on record. If maybe one more turnover or maybe a bad drive and you would have put Sanchez in?
I might have, yeah, definitely.
Wow.
Definitely. There's no two ways about it. It was
I want to get you guys on this. Would you have put Sanchez in?
That's a tough call. I mean,
it's a very tough call.
You gotta think that Foles would pull it together after 2 interceptions, but 3 turnovers in the first half. Maybe it is an option at that point, but.
I mean, I wouldn't have, but I think as Chip Kelly as a coach, you have to have faith. I mean, this is the guy. You went through all training camp. This is the guy. You can't let one half ruin the whole last season, make it into the playoffs, and ruining all that you came just because he was bad in one half. Foles is going to turn it around.
Yeah, see, I kind of agree with that, but in a sense, I don't know, because at the same time, we know how Chip Kelly works, and he'll do anything to win. And if something's disrupting his team in whatever facet, whether it's off the field, because we saw him just cut Deshaun Jackson outright for now what we see as allegations,
right,
or whatever the case may be, he wants to put in whoever to win. He said in the press conference of preseason, we could almost put anybody at quarterback. So, I mean, I don't think he would have done that, at least not the first game, but I just wouldn't have known. So, I don't know. Thankfully, he didn't put Sanchez in. Foles was able to weather the storm and get back out there. We'll talk about him a little more later on. But first, we go to our STP Player of the Week, who, as you guys brought up a little bit earlier, is Darren Sproles. 11 rushing attempts, 71 yards, a longest run of 49 yards, which ended in a TD. Again, not the most impressive line in the world, but he was really what got this offense going in the second half. Steve, talk about that run.
Yeah, I mean, before he even came on the Eagles, he's 31 years old, so I'm sure he's been hearing a lot about how he's getting older, his value's going down, and that's just motivation. And what we see is a career run for him, 49 yards. Nobody expected it, and that's not only motivation for himself, but now we're going to have Shady McCoy stepping up with a little competition with him.
Yeah, I mean, that run was great. I mean, obviously we needed it. I mean, that was the first points on the board, and honestly, it's amazing to see because you think about it, look where he's been. He's been San Diego, he's been in New Orleans, and he was always helping out back. He was never like he didn't really have that many carries. He was always like a guy that catches the ball in the backfield. You had Danian Thomas in the Chargers, Hall of Famer. You had Ingram and you had Pierre Thomas back in his New Orleans days over the last 3 years. And really, he was mostly a guy to catch the ball in the backfield. So I think Chip Kelly, he said in his press conference, he's a running back. He's going to use him as a running back because he didn't really have that many receptions in this game.
Right. I think he just maybe a better scheme fit here. I think this scheme is going to make the most, the zone blocking scheme is going to make the most out of his ability to hit the hole, take you the distance if, you're sleeping on the defensive side of the ball. But, that's really an asset. We know this team likes to run the ball, but, for your backup, you could say, oh, my backup could, outproduce my all-pro running back on any given Sunday. That's an asset. The team likes to run. Polk's our third guy. Last year, that was, a problem. Shady had way too many carries, way too many touches. Obviously, it's good if you have him on fantasy, but you need someone to spell him and, produce. When Shady was off the field last year, the defense essentially didn't even look the running back's way. Now you got to pay attention.
Yeah, not only that, but the thing I liked most about him when the Eagles made the trade to acquire him, because he got unhappy with the Saints because word got out that they were going to release him, and he found out via Twitter, which was interesting to say the least. But I love that now you have someone consistent back there to do punt returns. He didn't run any monster punt returns back, but he had some key punt returns to get them towards midfield, and that was how he burned the Eagles in that playoff game. He received the kickoff from Alex Henry, who of course is now a free agent, and was able to run that kickoff towards the end of that playoff game towards the 50-yard line, and it was easy pickings for Drew Brees and the rest of the Saints. So I think now that you have that versatility there, I think that's going to help out a lot. But how much do you think this will help Shady McCoy as a whole? Because, you said there'd be competition, but not only that, I think Jacksonville may have overlooked Sproles a little bit, because I think they may have focused all their game planning on McCoy, who really didn't do that much. So how much do you think this will really help McCoy in the long run?
Like before the season started, even McCoy said that Sproles is going to be a great pickup. He's willing to share his carries with him. And now that Sproles is getting a lot of attention this week after this 49-yard TD, Shady's only getting attention for a 20-cent tip, and that's not really what he wants, I'm sure. So this is only competition for Shady. I'm sure they have a great relationship, but in a sense, it's going to be, give me my carries and I'll produce as well.
Yeah, I think it's almost like it's a help. It's not as much competition. It's like, Shady, you need him. He was hurt a couple years ago, and that really affected the season. So you had him last year, career year rushing title. And I think Sproles is going to be a guy that's just going to take away some carries, make sure that LaShawn McCoy is there at the end of the season when you need him in the playoffs. And it's just it's good to see another running back that can really take the load and take a little bit off it of Shady.
Yeah, I don't think, Shady's going to feel too threatened. After all, he's the rushing champ. Not only that, Shady goes down, Sproles he's not going to be a guy who gets 20 carries, 15 carries. I was actually surprised he got 11 carries, and obviously he made the most of it. But that's not really his game. He's more known for his versatility, just kind of as a spark plug for their offense. And I almost wonder, what they'll look like if they're on the field at the same time, because they could both catch it, they could both run it. You put a linebacker on him, you put a safety on him. There's all sorts of mismatches there. And I think that's the theme of this team with Deshaun being gone, just trying to have as many players doing different things as possible. And, hopefully that'll replace his production. Sproles over the last couple of years is, 60, 70, 80 catches. Obviously he's started to decline in that aspect a little bit. But some of it might have to do with usage, because you see him play, he still looks like a very productive player. So I think he's going to be helped.
All right, I agree. And now let's transition from the running back to the quarterback. Of course, all eyes were on Nick Foles. It was his debut as the starter. His week 1 stats, 27 for 45 passing attempts, 322 passing yards, 2 touchdowns. But again, 2 fumbles and an INT, guys. We saw that first half, and then he shook off the cobwebs. Is this Nick Foles like he was in the preseason, where he threw those turnovers in Chicago and everybody started to lose their mind? Are we overreacting, or should we just ride it out like he is right now?
I think we might be overreacting a little bit. He just, everybody's got kinks, and he's shaking off the rust. But as we saw, he held the ball for entirely too long that first half. There was open receivers all over the field. Chip Kelly has this defensive confusion that any quarterback would dream of. Foles he benefits a lot from Chip Kelly's scheme. So we shouldn't worry much. I really think he's going to get together, like you saw in that graphic there. The bottom half of it was the first half, and the top is the second half. So he made adjustments, and I think he gets it together quickly.
He played poor. We can't deny the fact that he just didn't look good. Those stats were because of the second half. If he didn't do that in the second half, those stats would have been a lot worse. He had a chance to probably fumble another ball. I think he got called back on one of the plays. 2 fumbles, really just, like Steve said, holding the ball way too long. I was talking about earlier about they didn't really have enough time to practice in the preseason with Macklin and Riley Cooper. And I feel it's really going to be interesting to see how he's going to do now with these two offensive line down and these new guys coming in, Molk and Barbary. And Barbary went down, Gardner. And hopefully we can wait till Lane Johnson. That suspension, that PD suspension is really hurting us right now.
Yeah, I think with Foles, he just needs to understand, what his strengths are and play to them kind of like he did last year. I don't need him to run a 4-4 like the guy in Washington. He doesn't need to have a cannon of an arm. But, when you don't have those things, you need to be fundamentally sound like a Brady, like a Manning, like a Phillip Rivers. Climb the pocket, work on your footwork a little bit, get the ball out quick. He doesn't seem to be doing those things. You're throwing off your back foot, you're throwing sidearm. Physically, that's just not your game. If you're going to be doing that, you're not going to last long in this league. So I think he needs to just, play to his strengths, work on the fundamentals. Because if he's not fundamentally sound, he's going to be that guy we saw Sunday. He looked very jittery, out of touch. One thing we lauded him for was his pocket presence, and then obviously limiting the turnovers. And he did a terrible job of that. What do you have, 2 picks all of last year? And then the first half, he has 3 turnovers alone. I keep mentioning that horrible pick in the end zone. I ain't going to go there. But, the offensive line, they had their struggles, but they weren't terrible. And like everyone has alluded to, that, if he has guys running wide open down the field and he's just missing them, either he doesn't see him or he can't make the throw. And, obviously he's in his contract year. If he's, he's going to want to get paid. And I guess rightfully so, but you gotta live up to that contract. We see a lot of quarterbacks getting overpaid. You want to be the guy for the next few years, you gotta bring some consistency to the table.
Yeah, that'll be interesting to see what happens with Foles in his contract year. But again, it's going to be week 2. Let's focus on that. And speaking of week 2, we have the return of our prediction poll to STP with the football season coming back. We'll start with me naturally, and I'm in the minority here, guys. I'm taking the Colts. I'm sorry, but that offensive line, it scares me. It scares me a lot. So because of that, I'm going to go with the Colts 21-27. It's going to be a close game, but I think the offensive line will crumble, not too much, but just enough. And I think Andrew Luck will be able to get his head together and I don't think that loss in Denver last week is going to sit too well with him. So I think he's going to come out with a full head of steam. He's one of the smartest quarterbacks in the game. Chip Kelly said it himself. So I think because of that, I think the Colts equal out here. Steve, you're picking the Birds.
Yeah, I go with the Birds. Like you said, it was definitely a tough loss for the Colts last week, so it's going to be, definitely a tough win for the Eagles to get. But I think the Eagles come out and score points quickly. You got to put into effect that they're playing in a dome, so it's going to be really loud. It's going to be hard to communicate in the offense, especially with these rookies on the offensive line. But if they put points on the board, quickly, it's going to silence the stadium and it makes things a lot easier. So, Eagles win.
Yeah, I got the Eagles too, 28-24. I think Jeremy Macklin's going to be the MVP of this game. He was targeted 10 times, and I probably would have definitely had him open a couple more times than Nick Foles did that first half. So I think he's definitely an option. We don't have Deshaun Jackson anymore. He's in Washington. So we really only have so many wide receivers that can really take the load. And I just think we're going to pull it out. Like I said, it's Monday Night Football. I think we're going to step up.
Jordan, you also picked the Birds.
Yeah, I know. I really struggle with this one because I could easily see the Colts winning this game, but I'm not going to waffle. Just like you said, they lost their first game. Good teams don't like starting out 0-2 because it really puts a damper on your season, and Andrew Luck is just that good.
Especially when they're so favored in that division, too.
Yeah, exactly. But, even if not that we rely on lines, but even if you look at the line, it's kind of the Eagles' line. 3 points, they're the away team. Like I said, the Colts are going to be desperate, but at the same time, as worried as people are about the Eagles' offensive line, Robert Mathis isn't playing. He's a beast, but he's not playing. So there's no one that really scares me on their defense. And their defense, might be worse than ours, as much flack as as the Eagles' defense seems to get. So, I definitely think it's going to be a shootout, 34-27. Whenever I make these predictions, it's like a low-scoring game. So we'll see if that holds true. But I think Shady's going to have a big game. I think he actually cares about his numbers a little bit. And, he's always talking about he's the best running back. I think he comes out, proves a point, and I think the Birds eke out a close one. Start out 2-0.
All right, well, one of the most famous introductory lines in literature is it was the best of times, it was the worst of times. I'd say it was the best of times right now with the Philadelphia Eagles, lots of promise. But now let's go to what's kind of turned into the worst of times with the Philadelphia Phillies. Let's put up the graphic of how they've been so far in the 2014 season. It's not been pretty. Sub 500. 67 and 78. They are last in the NL East. Yes, dead last in the NL East. .243 batting average, 11th in the National League. 9 games back of the wild card with 17 left to play. So I saw a couple people reach on Twitter and say, "Ooh, maybe this is like 2007." This isn't going to be like 2007, is it, guys?
I don't think so. I really think the age is catching up with the Phillies. And, their players aren't getting any younger, and they're not getting any cheaper. When you have a 34-year-old as your cleanup hitter, you might run into some trouble, as the Phillies are. Whether they're looking in the trades this offseason, but they haven't, during the trade deadlines this year, well, it can worry fans, and it worries me. This age, you might want to look into younger prospects soon and just rebuild this team.
No, it's not like 2007. We actually had a good record. The Mets were a really nice team, and they choked when we came out. But we're nowhere near that. We're 17 games left in the season, and there's the end is we need the end to come soon, because it's just we're losing games left and right. We're doing a little bit better. I really enjoy what I've seen with the bullpen, and with Giles, Papelbon, of course, and Diekman and DeFreitas. They've really been looking nice lately. So I think that's a good sign for the future, hopefully. But just another season where it's just a shame it's not like the golden years of 08 through 2011 or 2010.
Yeah, guys, I think the magic is long gone. It probably has for a couple seasons. There's not too many positives to take from this team. I guess the Chase Utley still being very productive, bouncing back from a lot of injuries. But I think the problem just comes with the youth. I think the older guys aren't horrible per se. They're not living up to their contracts. But, Don Brown, you saw he had that stretch last year. Now you're thinking, like, is he an everyday player? Does he belong in the major leagues?
A lot of people were debating whether or not he should be sent down.
Yeah, that's rough, because I was really becoming a fan, but you watch him and he's really hurting the team having him out there. Rivera is obviously, competing for the batting title. Just a lot of empty stats from these guys. There's some good things. I think the bullpen has played fairly well. Papelbon has certainly done his job, even though he's a little annoying. And but Hamels is certainly an ace. But the guys who have value, you might have to flip them and get some. It's time to start over.
All right. Speaking of value, speaking of trades, speaking of the bullpen, let's take a look at that character of a closer, we'll call him, Jonathan Papelbon, who, let's be honest, guys, he's having a career year. 36 for 39 save opportunities, 1.61 ERA, his lowest ERA since 2006 when it was below 1. Why doesn't anybody want this guy? Is it because he's a character? Is it because of the money? What is it?
Well, he is a very opinionated player, and ball programs want respectfulness in their program, and sometimes these opinions can catch up with you. Also, he has a lot of money, and the Phillies might not be selling him as well as he could be, but yes, I think his character did catch up with him on this.
I don't think it's the character at all, honestly. I mean, there's always characters in the bullpen. I think that's what makes them good. I mean, Brian Wilson's a crazy character too, and but yeah, basically, I think it's not about him being a character. It's more about the fact that people want him. Ruben Amaro just wants too much for him.
Yeah, that is a very good point. And before we get to the Fast Five, we will put up probably my favorite graphic, as the question has been asked all offseason, and now it'll be addressed as Pat Gillick takes over as Phillies president for David Montgomery. Should Ruben Amaro Jr. be fired? Of course, you see him looking cool as ice back there with those flames in the background. But let's be honest, guys. I think we all know the answer to this question. But, of course, complications in the front office. We will have to see what happens here with the front office with Ruben Amaro Jr. come this offseason. But nevertheless, it is time for everybody's favorite segment on Sports Talk Philadelphia. It's time for the Fast Five. So the Fast Five is going to start today with Tommy McIntyre. Tommy, one of the big stories, of course, was Monet Davis in the Little League World Series, of course, from Philadelphia, making that team very noteworthy. How fast would Monet Davis strike you out? 3 pitches, 4?
I might get a couple. I was actually a pretty good. I didn't strike out too much when I was a baseball player, so I probably get like a couple foul balls. But then she'll probably maybe she'll hit me. Then I'll get on base. Maybe I'll get hit.
Yeah, I'll give you 3 pitches, and I think you strike out swinging. All right, Steve, best Philly broadcaster, as in play-by-play guy ever.
I gotta go. I'm gonna go with the duo here and say Merrill Reese and Mike Quick.
Touchdown!
Yeah, there's nothing like when the Eagles are on, you put the TV on mute, put them on the radio. It's a whole different experience.
All right, Jordan Green, Ryan Howard, Is he a Philly by opening day next year?
No way. No way, because at this point he's not hoping to sell tickets. His contract's ridiculous.
Do you think someone will take his contract?
Oh, absolutely. And the AL is a DL. Well, the Phillies are gonna have to eat some of it, but he's obviously still a major league player.
All right, Steve. Over under 10 wins for the Birds this year.
Oh yeah, easily 11.
Easily
Over.
11.
Yeah, I think so. 11.
I'm going to have to
5.
push there. I think they're going to have to go to 10. And lastly, Tommy, Jordan kind of brought this up earlier, but will Ben Revere win the batting title? And if he does it really matter?
I mean, it's nice for him considering the fact that he just looked poor in the beginning of the year, but he's really turned around. I think last year, when he broke his foot, he was really looking nice, and then he broke his foot, and then that kind of you forgot about him for the rest of the year last year. But this year, came around, batted nice. He's bumped up his on-base percentage. It's nice to see. I don't think he's going to get it, but I mean, he's turned around a little bit.
All right, and well, that's going to do it for us here today on SportsTalk Philadelphia. It's good to have you back here on the new year. We're very excited, and you can keep in touch with us on social media, as you can see on the graphic, facebook.com/SportsTalkPhiladelphia. On Twitter, you can contact LaSalle TV at LaSalle TV Philly. Our email address is lasalletv@lasalle.edu. On YouTube, you could see us at LaSalle at 56 TV, and our website, lasalle.edu/LaSalle TV. Remember to never stop exploring. All right, so that's it for us today. For Steve Grant, for Tommy McIntyre, and for Jordan Green, I'm Tyler Harper. We welcome you in for this season, and we hope you stick around for the entire year. See you next time.